Good morning guys and welcome back to another episode at Bareham Engines. So everyone, today's video, we have had the majority of an engine sitting out in our workshop for months and months now, which has become part of the furniture really. We've been waiting for the block and the crank to be coming back to us from white metaling. We've got that back now and we're going to be carrying on with that build today. It's a very old engine. You've got to be specific on how you build it, how you check clearances and gaps and what have you. So we're going to be doing that in today's video guys, so I hope you enjoy that. Just want to say a quick thank you guys to all you people that have subscribed to the channel. If you haven't yet, we see that only sort of a fifth of the subscribers are the people that watch our channel. If you haven't already guys, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel, and also hit the like button and the notification bell and you will be notified whenever we put a video on. And also thanks to any of you guys that made the effort in pressing the link in the description below, which will be in every video, to head over to our new merchandise website where you can buy t-shirts, jumpers, etc. So please take the time to just have a little look at that guys, really appreciate it. And yeah, hope you enjoy today's video.
Right, so Lee, what do we have here?
So Paul, we've got the Lagonda Rapier engine back. So this has been off having white metaling done, cranks ground to suit. At the moment, I'm just fettling the pistons, because as you know, Paul, some of these pistons, especially the old English ones, the pins are all, you have to sort of hammer them out. So I mean, even though that is fettled, it's still tight. Yeah. So as you can see, this side we've fettled. We want it a nice slide fit really, so it all just slides together. This one here, you see, nice slide fit. Beautiful. And it goes all the way through. That's what you want. You don't want it too sloppy. No. But you don't want it too tight. So that's what I'm doing here. So yeah, we've had this back, mate, from white metaling. The customer supplied a new crank. Well, it's a second-hand crank actually, but not sure what it's out of. But mysteriously, it's exactly the same crank except for the main journals are 3mm bigger than the other one. Right. And the big ends were 2.5mm. So we've had to grind it right down. He's been in touch with the Lagonda Owners Club and apparently that is a known thing, so it's not like you're grinding through any coating or anything, so that crank's fine. The rods have been white metalled, but these are all part of the rod, so you've got a white metalled bearing without the shell bearing in it, so that's all part of it. Beautiful. And the mains are a shell, but these have been white metalled as well, so yeah. Fairly extensive work, very expensive, but now we've got it back. The customer's dying to get it back, so we're just making sure everything turns nicely and got all the correct clearances and what have you. And then we can put it all together, mate. The cylinder head's all done. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, this is, what, 100 years old? Yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it? It's a fairly, what we call a trick head. For 100 years old, isn't it? Yeah, you do have to look at it for a minute or two, don't you, before you... Yeah, that's it, yeah. I mean, most modern stuff, this isn't a massive amount different to the Alphas, is it, really? In sort of design. It is a little bit different, but even, you know, even up to the 70s, not a lot had changed in 50 years. You know, this is fairly advanced for its age. Well, a twin cam 8-valve, isn't it? That's quite, you know, I think Ford are doing 8-valve push rods, aren't they? That's right, in the 60s, so... So this has all been done. All we've got to do is paint that, obviously paint the block, but we're just going to go through the block and make sure everything's clean and all ready to slide back together really, but yeah. Well, it's looking good so far, mate, so. Yeah. So we've laid all the bits out here, guys. This is for the pre-crossflow race engine. So over there, Paul has pretty much finished the red Cosworth one for our customer Malcolm, and this is his other one for his race engine. So we've got various bits here, obviously the rods, pistons, vernier pulley, all the rest of it. We've got some aluminium covers and what have you he sent, which are shot blasted. We're going to show you a little bit in a second on shot blasting those in the cabinet. Now Isaac's cleaned that out, it's very pleasant to use. Next stage on that is the block. I've set the block up here. That is for the ductile iron liners, which we're waiting for. The liners are not going to be here for probably another 3 or 4 weeks, but I just want to get the block bored out for the liners. I've got all the sizes. The only thing is, at the minute, I've just started boring the first bore. We've had a little bit of a problem with the machine. So over here, sits on there. It's fairly crude. It's just like a fork, really, that sits in there, and that is the locator to engage this wheel, which is obviously driven. It drives the boring bar from the motor, and that fork has split. So I'm just having another one made. That should be here Friday, and we can crack on with that. In the next video, guys, we've got the crossflow here, the crossflow race engine that's going to be going in the Mark 1 Escort with the wide arches, etc. The one we're going to be doing a video on at Castle Combe, fingers crossed, in the not too distant future. So that one is going to be on Friday's video. All we've got to do is do the vernier setup there on the cam and put the sump on, and that one is all finished. So we're going to show you guys how to set the vernier pulley up on the pushrod engine. First stage of sorting the pistons out, we've got all the pins, a nice slide fit into their holes. We've got to check them in the small ends, and they should all be all right. Might need the small ends honing out slightly to make them a nice slide fit. Next stage is checking the ring gaps. I put a ring down into one of the bores. Obviously, you check the ring gaps when all the bores are honed to size, the exact size, okay? What we do, we just put it down the top of the bore here with the gap at the back. Then what I normally do is just put a piston sort of about 10 mil down the bore, pressing the ring down square, and then you can see the ring is nice and even around. If you've got the ring a bit on the piss, that's going to open up that gap, give you a false reading. So we get it nice and square in the bore, and you can see down here this particular ring has got next to no gap at all. So we're going to be aiming for about 12 thou of ring gap on this. As you can see, that does not go in. You've probably got a thou or two, if that, on this one. And I've checked a couple of the oil control rings, and you've got no gap whatsoever. So if you tried to put those on the pistons and straight down the holes, the chances are you're either going to have to ram it down the hole and mark the bore, or you're going to break a ring. So the oil control ring is a solid type, so we're going to get all these ring gaps the same. So what I'm going to do is, we have got a proper ring gap file machine, but we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, just so if any of you guys need to gap rings in your garden shed or your garage or whatever, this is the old school way of doing it. So what we do, we take a file, bit of cloth or some tape, whatever, some insulation tape, and just grip that file with sort of half of it showing in the vise very lightly. Then what we do is we take the piston ring, obviously with the ring running on either side of the vise makes it run square, and then we just, on one side of the ring, just the one side, we want to put that as square as you can get it, and just rub very, very gently up and down that file. Now, I'm sure a lot of you will be in the comments that be slating me for this, but this is how people used to do it. And then what you want to do is just push that ring gap together and make sure that's nice and square, just like that. You see there, we're not filing it unevenly, and we want to put that back into the bore. See that ring there is sort of on the piss, as they say, and that's giving you a big gap because it's not square in the bore. So what we do is we put the piston down about 10 or 15 mil, just pushing that ring nice and square, and that closes that gap up. So then what we do is we just want to check our gap. We've probably opened that up now to about 4 or 5 thou, so we need to keep going on that. So this has got to be opened up probably about another 3 or 4 thou. So if you see from the top here, Paul, we're resting the ring on either side of the vise, obviously covered by this so it doesn't harm the ring either side. And we're just doing one side of the ring, keeping it as square as we can, putting a little pressure on. Resting the back of the ring on the smooth bit of the file. Obviously make sure there's no sharp edges here that's going to score the ball when we put it in. So we just pop that in there, use a piston to push it down, sort of 10 or 15 mil. And then we almost there. As I say, we're using this method, so if you guys are at home in your garden shed and you want to gap rings, you can really use any sort of fine file. I reckon another 2 thou there. And there we go. Absolutely perfect. And you can see that gap is nice and square. And that's it, Paul. About another 10 to go. Right, so we've done all the ring gaps, guys. Next step is to get the rods and the pistons down the holes. I've checked all the pins in the pistons. They're a nice sort of slide fit in there now. I've just checked them in the rods and they're absolutely perfect. So next step is to get them in, but this isn't like a conventional 4-cylinder where you can put the pistons on the rods and then feed it all down through the bore. You've got to put the rod in from the back, and the reason for that is the diameter of this big end here is smaller than the bore. So down in the bottom of the bore, as you can see, there's cutouts either side, and the reason for those cutouts is for the rod to come up far enough for the small end to stick out enough to put the piston on and feed the pin in. So this is one we've done here. What we've done is took the cap off the back, got it all sort of laid out, and then we've fed the rod through the back. We've plonked the piston on there, holding the rod up, and then you've got to feed the pin. It's a bit of a 3-hand job really, and you've got to feed the pin through that hole. We've inserted one circlip in, obviously all oiled up, and then you push that right in there, and you can see that will go in now, but you can see how far it will come up. That's as far up as the rod will go, just enough to get the circlips in. Fortunately, they are half sensible circlips. They're not just the single sort of ring. They've got the eyes in, so it's fairly easy to get these circlips in. So we've got that first piston down the hole. All we're going to do is leave it right at the top there, get the other 3 in and leave all those at the top. Then we're going to turn the block over and we'll show you how to insert the crank with these rods in. So there we go, guys, the crank is in, the pistons and rods are in, and we've all torqued up. You can see the gentleman that did the white metal in, etc., has sent down a sheet for us to specifically follow. He said we must torque the mains at 50 foot-pounds and the big ends to 25 foot-pounds before the crank is turned, because if you don't torque it up, it sort of doesn't want to turn. Once it's all torqued up, it's very free. We've checked that, double-checked that. So what I do is before I put the rods on, I've torqued up the mains, then I've untorqued them, took them off and checked all the mains bearings just to make sure that there's no sort of area where it's specifically rubbing. Then I've put them all back on, torqued them up, and everything seems to be hunky-dory. The only thing we've got to do is, because we've got the castellated nuts on the big ends, you can see the hole that's through there. So what I'm going to have to do is obviously to get these are at 25 foot-pound, and you can see we're sort of half a groove either side out. So what I'll do is I'll take that off. We take down the bottom on some wet and dry, take down the bottom of that nut until when we've torqued it up to 25 foot-pounds, it lines up with the hole there, and then we can put our split pins in. So we're going to be doing that on Friday's video for you guys, but so far everything seems to turn nicely. What you want with it all torqued up there, obviously you've got friction from the pistons and what have you, so when we've inserted two studs into here and just get a light bar on there with a little bit of light leverage, it all turns lovely. So yeah, happy with that. So we'll crack on Friday's video and maybe hopefully get the cylinder head on. Well, once again guys, thanks ever so much for watching today's video. Until another one, we will see you Friday. Have a great evening. Cheers guys.